An Israeli-American regime change operation is underway in Iran. That's obvious. It's right out of the US-Israel playbook for such operations, says Professor John Mearsheimer, whom we all know. First, the US wrecked that country's economy through crippling sanctions, making the population profoundly unhappy, poor, desperate, and hungry. Next, with Israel, massive protests were instigated. These were confirmed in a Jerusalem Post article dated December 29. The headline read as follows: Mossad spurs protests, say agents were the demonstrators in a Farsi message. As protests grew across Iran, the Mossad posted an unusual Farsi message urging demonstrators to act, saying it is with them in the streets. That report came from Israel's media. To Israel, the United States of America offers nothing but service and subservience. Soon, the smug comments from Trump on Truth Social and from Mike Pompeo openly backed the fact of an orchestrated, malevolent intervention in what were initially organic, peaceful protests that stemmed from ruthless American economic warfare against Iran. Duly on January the 2nd, Pompeo, former Secretary of State and CIA Director, wrote the following: Happy New Year to every Iranian in the street, also wink wink to every Mossad agent walking beside them. The Times of Israel on January the 16th quoted sources close to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that foreign actors are arming the protesters in Iran with live firearms, which is the reason for the hundreds of regime personnel killed. A little later, this oleaginous Israeli source quipped, everyone is free to guess who is behind all this. Oh, I think we know it is. We sensed as much. For one, the Iranian January protesters are just acting out of character, more like Israelis than ordinary Iranians. These protesters appear thoroughly Israelized. It is unusual historically for the generally quiet, demure, respectful Iranians to burn down and desecrate their own holy sites. Such behavior, however, conforms to the rules and customs of Israeli transnational terrorism, a phrase used by Craig McIver. Historically, Iranians in protest have targeted government symbols, but not national and religious symbols. And these Iranian protesters had enjoyed access to 40,000 Starlink internet terminals. This news actually was confirmed by the Times of Israel as well as Fox News, with the usual bursts of good cheer and cheerleading. Look, the live firearms present were in keeping with Israel's terror state tactics. Recall that in June of last year, in connivance with the CIA, Mossad, MI5, and Trump, Israelis had smuggled weapons into Iran for their war of aggression. Trump had done his part in the scheming by pursuing diplomacy as deception with his trusting Iranian interlocutors. He thus distracted and deceived them. The third stage in Mearsheimer's four-part regime change playbook is the Disinformation campaign. Before their well-coordinated air forces and armies descend on their Iranian victims in targeted attacks and assassinations, the US-Israel axis has a minor task, very minuscule: convince the most propagandized minds in the world, the West, that this grotesque regime change farce is a naturally occurring thing, an uprising. Yep, basically, you are asked to believe that America's color-coded plant-based democratic revolutions across the world, you know the kind, purple in Iraq, blue in Kuwait, cotton in Uzbekistan, grape in Moldova, orange in the Ukraine, rose in Georgia, tulip in Kyrgyzstan, cedar in Lebanon, jasmine in Tunisia, green in Iran, still unchristened in Russia and Syria. These are all just natural uprisings, led by patriots who just happen to, all too often, be aligned with and sponsored by Foreign Policy Inc. You know, the clubby DC foreign policy establishment and their Israeli offshoots and operatives. Iran has and will continue to endure this devilry for decades to come. If I understand him, Mearsheimer appears to imply that the stages of regime change are consecutive or sequential, but I would argue that, as in all formulaic stage theories, the stages of regime change here overlap, run into each other, reoccur, and repeat. Over and above regime change, Israel, by Mearsheimer's careful estimation, has a deep-seated interest in wrecking Iran, in breaking the Islamic Republic apart, and fracturing the surrounding nations. At bottom, I wrote during the 12-day war on Iran, links posted below, if Israel wanted to enjoy its neighborhood, it would not keep reducing it to a pre-civilization stage as in Gaza by wiping out knowledge, experience, strength, smarts, beauty, and goodness. Israelis who during the 2025 offensive in Iran murdered nearly 900 Palestinians in Gaza, they don't want educated, erudite neighbors, equals with whom to make magic in the region. They want subjects they can sanction and slaughter into submission. Actually, I should revise that. According to the twinned belief systems of Jewish supremacy and American exceptionalism, all good, happy human beings are either those who are like Americans or like Israelis, or en route to becoming clones of the one or the other. The people involved in these foreign policy drives honestly believe that to be American or Israeli is the existential gold standard. Lowly humanity is a pilgrim on the way to the promised land, whether they know it or not, sometimes by hook or by crook. Ultimately, the lives of all regime change victims, Iranians in this instance, are just not worth much until they arrive, namely, until they transform themselves into the desired state of being. As to their deep involvement in inciting regime change riots in Iran, as I said, news tidbits to that effect have come to us directly via the Israelis themselves. By now you know that Israel is amoral. It acts outside the laws of both man and God. By now you know that bursts of pride accompany Israeli brutality. As is often the case, Israelis and their media openly report their crimes, and they are especially proud to be inciting regime change in Iran on the ground. Take the X account titled Mossad Farsi. It's so nauseatingly audacious in content that I doubted its authenticity. In sickening, sugared tweets, official Mossad in Farsi, and its bots speak to the love Israelis have for their largely pro-Palestinian Iranians. These are the same Israelis still mid-murder in Gaza and the West Bank who were posting and celebrating imagery of murdered Palestinians with their flesh hanging on their bones in ribbons. That amoral Israel is now loving on Iranians, a people who have generally resisted for Palestine. Filled with love, Mossad Farsi has been loud and proud about its role in attempting to break the Islamic Republic. The Mossad Farsi tweet that got world attention is also dated December 29. It reads as follows: "Let's come out to the streets together. The time has come. We are with you, not just from afar and verbally. We are with you in the field as well." Speaking as one, Israeli media, Channel 14, I-24, Israel Hayom, and others, no doubt, confirmed the authenticity and impetus of this account. In identically scripted messages, all outlets announced that a Mossad X account in Farsi urges Iranians to protest as unrest sweeps the country. There you have it. Criminal Svengali Bibi tips the nose toward Iran, allegedly, in a December 29 meeting at Mar-a-Lago, allegedly, and Trump obliges. What can I add to the information provided by Mearsheimer and reported by the likes of Max Blumenthal in hashing out the finer points of the Israeli scheme? Well, I can provide a translation from the Hebrew of the motto embedded by Mossad Farsi in its X account's graphic. It reads as follows: "Without connivance, as in scheming, a nation will fall." In Hebrew, it's "Be'ein tachbulot yipol am." There you have it. Mossad Farsi's motto is the message, Israel's message.